Good morning, good afternoon, gorgeous. This is Gail Burwell, the founder of the Rockstar Wellness Series. And today I have a fantastic episode with you with my guest, Sagan Morrow. Welcome, Sagan.
Thank you for having me. Again, this is exciting.
Ta, 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 ta. I told you you're going to come back.
Yes, yes.
So yes, Sagan is with us because she's a fierce advocate of body positivity. And if you're anything like me, being body confident is not something you learn at school. This is something you were so comfortable about it, let's be honest. So we're going to talk about it. And I really invite you to be open-minded about this subject because I believe that feeling good in your body, inside out, is so needed right now. So yes, again, let's get started. What do you think, really? Let me know. Share what you think about this movement of body positivity, and what does it mean for you?
Yeah, well, and I thought it was really interesting when you reached out to me and you're like, "Hey, let's talk about body positivity," because I am not an expert on it, and I don't, and I often don't really think of myself as being really involved with the movement and everything. So it's kind of interesting because I think that it has been an underlying piece that's been really important for me.
Okay.
And it's not been a conscious sort of thing that I've tried to focus on. So it's kind of interesting when you reached out about this because I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, yeah, I do actually do a lot of stuff around body positivity and it is really important to me, but I haven't been consciously like promoting it and that kind of thing. So it's kind of funny that it sort of came about in that way. But body positivity is a really, really big thing. And it's something that I do care a lot about. And I think, there's a lot of moving pieces to it, right? There's so many moving parts when it comes to body positivity. And as I sort of understand it and view it as a liberation, right? That's kind of how I sort of see it. There was a really great thing that I saw that Mikey Mercedes said, which was the body positivity movement is about freeing people from historically rooted systems of oppression. And
Mhm.
I find that really powerful. And I think that that's a really important piece, especially because body positivity has sort of changed from what it started out as. I think a lot of people have sort of co-opted it kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, I think that all of it can sort of come together really well, right? I mean, like for myself as a, thin, white, straight passing woman, I don't sort of have that same kind of experience of oppression that a lot of other people have. But I think that regardless, when we think about body positivity as being rooted in challenging the systems, then it's just a really important piece to keep in mind, right? Our bodies are political and they're very socially charged. The way that we view our bodies and the relationships that we have with our bodies is very socially charged. So I think that there are so many different moving parts to it, and we can look at it as the way that it is kind of viewed right now, where it's all about, self-care and loving your body and that kind of thing, while also recognizing the extreme importance and power in the root of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with this point saying that there is so much, I think, pressure from our society, media, and cultures to show us or to try to convince us the way our body should be. And I think it's true with this emergence of really a lot of self-care practices and really a kind of emphasizes on our mental and emotional well-being. I think it's time, and I think you start to look a little bit further down regarding your body and how can you, how can you make something better with your body? Not being just an object like I need to be bikini ready or I need to be ready for my wedding. I heard so much this word from women before, and I notice it. I notice it really the change gradually when no, they just wanted to feel comfortable in their own skin, no matter what is their weight, no matter what is their size. And I found it amazing. I found it amazing to have this capacity to say, you know what? no matter what I look like, I love my body unconditionally. Um, and I think this is another movement, I think, kind of in alignment with everything happening right now as well. Uh,
Yes.
I know from my experience, for example, black people were seen, in a certain way, like quite curvy woman. And when you think the way we are in our society is more being fit, tall, so it wasn't matching as well. I think I struggled with that when I was a bit more teenager because I didn't look this way. Um, and I find it great that now we can see that we are all different, and this is our beauty. This is our inner beauty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, celebrating our bodies in their unique form is so important, right? Like celebrating what it is that makes us, our own unique selves, that sets our bodies apart. I think that's really, yeah, that's a really important piece. Just loving ourselves for the way that we are.
Yes, it's really part of this. I think of this kind of big awareness, that it's time to love yourself as the way you are right now. That where we are with so much chaos around us, the key is really to focus on yourself and really to love yourself unconditionally. So it's quite interesting because you do realize that it's not a question only about the mind, which is so strong, with the mindset, with the mindfulness part, which is a conscious way to train your mind. When with your body, it's completely different.
Yes.
It's true. It's
It's
not
so
like you
true.
have a kind of instruction or map at all.
It would be so nice if there was just a step-by-step guide to to teach us how we should feel about our bodies, right?
Okay,
Oh,
it's not.
no, it's this ongoing practice, right? It's an ongoing sort of thing that we need um to pay attention to, which is why I think it's also, really important to spend time with our bodies. When we often have, a very charged sort of relationship with our bodies. We often sort of struggle with it. And I think then, just like in so many other things, when we feel resistance or when we're struggling with something, to actually sit with that and to acknowledge how we're feeling and to accept that. Like it's okay to not love your body 24/7, right? But
Yeah,
acknowledging an important part of you is important. And I mean, like there's certainly parts of my personality that I don't love 24/7, right? And like looking at our
tell me
bodies just
about
in
it.
this piece, right? But like one of the things that I always love to do, especially as a business owner, is to reframe things, right? So whenever I identify a weakness within my business or my personality or anything like that, I try to look at, okay, this is a part of who I am. So how can I reframe it into a strength? How can I start looking at it from a different perspective? How can I start appreciating it and all the nuances that make me me, right? And I think that the same thing can apply to how we view our bodies. We can also look at it from that perspective. If there's certain things that we're struggling with, to really look at, okay, but what can I find about this to appreciate? I think that can be
Yeah.
important.
It's quite interesting because it's when I became a mom that you even learn so much about your body because you do realize that it's done an amazing job to carry a new human being, healthy and a bed and really happy. And this is where I think you can start sometimes this kind of healing process of your body. And you say, you
Yeah.
know what, this is a pretty amazing job. As you said, not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Um, and me started a little bit around this time. That's why when I got my daughter, I wasn't really in a rush basically to lose my weight. I was, you know what, I'm going to leave you the way it is. You're going to take our time. I'm not going to rush into diet, into workouts and everything. Because I couldn't. I didn't have the energy.
Yeah.
To be honest. And it really, really helped me, yeah, to really see my body in a different way.
Yes. I love that. That's so wonderful. And, you know, like there is so much fat phobia wrapped around our entire society, right? And we have so much, it's what we're taught from an early age. And we have to constantly work, like constantly deconstruct that, right? That's such an important piece. And I really find that when it comes to body positivity that, you know, trying to deconstruct that sort of fat phobic structure that we've been part of, and also to deconstruct the way that we tend to assign, you know, worth and value to our bodies when, like, in different when our bodies are a certain way versus another way, right? Like really taking the value and worth out of the equation. Like our body is not worth more or valued more when it is one way versus another. And I also think it's very important to take health out of the equation too, because there are going to be some points in our lives when our body isn't as healthy as maybe we would want it to be, right? Like totally separate from everything else. That there's so many different contributing factors that can affect our health. And it's really problematic when we start looking at body positivity as, oh, well, I'm, you know, being healthy, therefore my body is worth more, right? Like, I definitely think that health at every size is extremely important. And I'm totally on board with, you know, all sizes and everything like that. But at the same time, to recognize that health is not necessarily the be all end all. Right? Our body is valid and worthy regardless of our size, regardless of our health. And like those are completely different things, but they're both really important pieces to consider because often we assign value based on those two things.
Yeah, no, I really love that because it's true. It's when you start to walk around it that you start to give value to it. And this is not the point. The point is just to accept as it is. I think it's a question of radical acceptance as well, to accept that your body as it is perfect. And yeah, if you do any work, fine, but don't try basically, to play this game of value, net worth. And I think it's quite interesting because it's linked as well to everything about personal development. When you start to do it, most of the time, you learn that it's so important to listen to your body because there is a kind of body intelligence that we are aware or not, depending if you want to listen or not.
Yes.
But most of the time, the body is telling you when something is wrong, when something is hurting you, this is not for you. It's depending if you're going to listen to your intuition, to this, to what your body is telling you, and you're going to listen. You always have the choice.
Yes. And I think that this is a really important piece, listening to our bodies. I mean, when we talk about, you know, if we're nervous and we feel butterflies in our stomach or we start shaking, right? Whenever I go on stage to dance burlesque, I shake uncontrollably. I can't like that. And it's hilarious because I can feel myself just like shaking. And I'm like, okay, well, like this is like, I feel it's very funny, right? Like that I have that, that body reaction. And I think there's when we pay attention to that kind of thing, like our bodies do tell us stuff all the time. And the more that we listen to what it's telling us, the more that we can make decisions in life, in business, and all of these types of things. Because as you said, you know, following where your gut is sort of taking you, if you get a bad feeling, you know, like pay attention to that, right? Like those feelings, and especially the way that our bodies manifest those feelings through things like trembling or butterflies in our stomach or whatever it happens to be, you know, when we really pay attention to those things, that can be so helpful. It can be such a good thing.
No, I mean, Definitely. Especially, you
Yeah.
know, when you're still stuck in your mind, when you're still stuck in your rational mind and it's very logical and you don't get out of it and you say, how am I? How am I going to make a decision? Your body is here to tell you the truth all the time.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's why we need to give more power and more respect for our body. Just for that, just for the fact that no matter what, your body is going to be here for you. If you listen
Yes.
to it, if you give him some space, you know, he's going to tell you. He's going to tell
Yeah.
you or not.
And there's so much value in that.
It's true when you
Yeah.
start. I think it was a friend. The last time I think I tried. I think a program. It was regarding. The name is Origins. It's created by Kate not Trump. Not sure my pronunciation is correct, but she's really good and she's helping women to do less
Hmm.
while really respecting their menstrual cycle, really to be in phase with the moon. So it's really, I think, in a certain way, it's far fetched, but it's really doable. You know, it's just like if you have the mindset for it, if you open minded, you can say, oh, okay, this is different from what we living 9 to 5, 9 to 5 hours every day or 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But it's really interesting. And when I started to read about it, you know, I started to seek with relief.
Yeah.
And my friend said, "Oh my God, Gail, it's such a sign. Your body is telling you that you love it a lot, you need it." And I said, "Yeah, probably. I think my body as well is very happy because it's doing a cell nature that we have right now is telling me." And I think it's just the fact that it's such an obsession about it in our society and culture to always run to performance, always, always, no matter what. And for me, it's too overly masculine.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting, right? It's fascinating, like the different effects that it can have. Yeah.
Especially on women. Come on,
Yes.
even
Yes, for
men.
sure.
Come on, we are tired, we are so lost, we are on the edge, we are exhausted. It's too much.
Yes. 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 We are tired. We are exhausted.
So that's why I think, you know, when everyone starts to work from home, in a way they were, oh my God, thank you. You know,
Yeah.
and it's true. Some friends are funny. They said, no, we need to. We
Yeah.
didn't ask for that, but we still need to have a break.
Yeah. And I find it really interesting, when it comes to the struggles that we have with our bodies and everything like that. Like that's a mental distraction, right? And I mean, like as a productivity strategist coming from at it from that angle, if we don't if we aren't in tune with our bodies and if we don't love our bodies and if we don't accept our bodies for the way that we are, that's just going to weigh on the back of our minds and it's going to distract us from
Mm.
being productive, right?
Yeah,
Like it can
no, it's
be
a very good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can be so distracting. And like, there's a lot of like, yeah, again, moving pieces, right? Like there's so many parts to it that really indicate that the more that we can accept and acknowledge
Mm.
the vessel that we are in, these bodies are our
Exactly.
vessels, then the more that we can I guess not have it as that sort of distraction, right? And we can listen to our bodies and help and like allow them to guide us again, like in our choices and all of that kind of thing. So there's a lot of pieces at
Mhm.
play.
Yeah, and there's this mind body connection as well when you think about it.
Yeah, there's so
So
much there.
it's not only basically to, I think, to really work on your mindset or to be really mindful. It's also to be think about your body, the way you treat your body, the way you speak to your body. And it's quite interesting because I remember me, it was a few months ongoing like this when I always had a pain on the back of my belly. And I was saying to my husband, I said, I need to work out. I knew, I just got the message. I said, I didn't work out for ages. This is something about my muscles. I need to do something about it. It has been ongoing for months. Months. And I knew, you know about it. And it's quite interesting because I went through this stage where firstly you're going to self-sabotage yourself and you're going to beat yourself up. After you're going to come back into this kind of healing, loving yourself, taking your time. And it's only now, I think maybe for 1 week or 2 weeks, that naturally I woke up and I'm taking my mat and I'm doing abs exercise every morning. But it just like,
and that makes you feel good.
Yeah. And I don't have any pain anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, which is very, very important, right? Yeah. And I also find it interesting, like, what we're sort of talking about with listening to our bodies and everything like that and doing what feels good for them. I mean, there's so many different things like that I've, tried doing in the past, like for activities and stuff like that. And like, I used to always say like, oh, I have a love-hate relationship with running, right? And I finally got to the point where I was like, why am I doing this? Like my body does not enjoy it. No part of my body likes running. Like my lungs hate it. And like my muscles are just like, my body just doesn't like it. And my brain, my mind hates it. And so I finally got to this point where I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like this is not necessary. And there's other like, and so when we sorry?
You stop it?
I wish? Yeah. Oh yeah. I stopped doing it. And I stopped running. Yeah. Cause I was like, this isn't working for me. And like what I've found instead, different ways, cause like it can be a lot of, we as we get older, we stop playing, right? We stop moving our bodies in ways that feels good to us. And we start moving them in ways that society tells us we should move them. And so for me, I found that I, hated running. And I think in part, not just because my body and my mind, it just doesn't work for me, but I think also in part the fact that society is always telling us like, you should run, like running is good for you, right? And like, it doesn't work for me. As the, the quote in Parks and Recreation, she's like, I know that running's good for you, but God, at what cost? Like, it's like, it's healthy for you, but.
As well.
Yeah.
And after a few months, I said to my husband, I said, they can run as much as they want, all these people, but it's not for
me. Right? And some people love it, and that's great. But like really recognizing what's good for you, right? What you like to do. And like for me, yes. Yeah. Like I love dancing, right? So dancing feels fun. It feels like play. And I think like when we look at anything that we do with our bodies as my body loves this, my body enjoys this, right? Whether it's the food that we're eating or the activities that we're taking part in or whatever it happens to be, doing the things that our bodies enjoy. And that's going to be totally different from one person to the next. But like doing that, that's so important for, again, like getting back into alignment, getting in tune with our body and our mind, and celebrating our bodies for the way that they are.
Definitely. I think your body is going to tell you which move it needs and which move you like. Me, it's the same. I love dancing. I can dance all the day. I have no issue with that. It's really what wakes me up, what uplifting me. Wow, it's just like, it's just a way basically to connect with my energy as well, and to feel good. And I use basically to dance in the kitchen with my daughter, with my hubby all the time because I put a lot of music, and she loves it. And immediately you can see her; she's much more playful, she's jumping and everything because she responds to the energy very quickly and is a very upbeat, positive energy, very high vibe. And I need, I love this vibe, especially now during these tough times. I think it's really important that you keep your state of being, um, yes, in a very positive one, in a very feeling good vibes. I think it's important.
Yeah, and to not force yourself to do something just because society tells us that's the way we should do it, right? Like, screw society. Like, screw that it tells us, this is the right way to move, or this is the right way to eat, or this is the right way that your body should look or feel or whatever. No, like, just do what feels good for you at that moment, whatever that might be. Like, getting in touch with what your body truly needs. I think that's such a game changer. I think that can be really magical when we truly listen to our bodies in that sense.
Yes, I do agree with you. Yes, especially when I think it's really a key to connect to your intuition, what your intuition is telling you, because to the end of the day, is not society is not necessarily on your side. They just intellectualize. So we
Yeah. Society does not want to support us, especially not with our bodies, right? Society wants to control our bodies in like every possible way. Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's totally true. But it's just the way you explain the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great when you do realize this. It's great when you see really the truth as it is, because I think we all did it in the past, trying different diets, doing different workouts, and to the end of the day, it didn't help us at all. Most of the time, it's when you let it go that your body is coming back and it's just showing you what it needs, and naturally everything is falling into place.
Yeah. Yeah, our bodies
So
will do what they need to do when we let them.
when we let that go,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is a good,
Right?
this is a good,
Yeah.
yeah,
When we
definitely.
get out of our own way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and actually, it's really interesting with the thing that I have against running, like my personal vendetta against running. It's really interesting because I have one leg, my right leg is 3/4 of an inch shorter than my left leg. And so when this was diagnosed when I was a kid, and so the doctors were like, okay, it's really important that you wear a lift in your right shoe, in all of your shoes, right? So like a little build up so that your legs are the same length. Well, I did that for a few years. And then throughout most of my 20s, I was like, I want to wear pretty shoes. So I'm not going to do that because it's a very specific type of shoe at the time. So I stopped wearing these lifts in my shoes. And it wasn't until within the past, I think it was 2 years ago, that I went to the physiotherapist and I was like, you know what? I have not been wearing my lifts for many years, like, oh, what should I do now? And he looked at, like, he was going through, like, looking at my body, and he was like, oh, your pelvis is actually completely tilted on the right side. He was like, this is actually really interesting because your body has adapted to the fact that you haven't been wearing a lift. And I do now wear a lift part-time, and part-time I don't. But I would not be surprised if, running is hard on our joints. And if I had been running for all of these years, it probably would have exacerbated the problems, right? Instead, I tend to do a lot more things with like dancing and yoga and stretching and things like that. And swimming, I loved swimming. So I was doing that for a couple of years. And my physiotherapist was telling me, he was like, somehow your body is in pretty good shape, all things considered. And I think it's because I was listening to what my body wanted to do when it came to movement. And what my body was telling me was, we want to dance. We want to stretch. And that is what really helped my body to not be in way worse shape. And I think that if I had been running, that would have been really tough on my joints, right? So when we listen to like, you know, whatever our body is telling us, even if we're like, I don't really understand why it's doing this or why it's telling me this, but if we follow through with it, we might find out years later that, oh, that's probably a really good thing that I was listening to what my body told me.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
your story is very interesting because it's showing that basically you listen to your body and you let it go of basically what society can tell you. And you say, you know what, I'm going to listen to my body and see what is happening. And from what your physiotherapist said, you did an excellent job to listen to your body. So it's really a question, I think, I think you have to let it go of basically what people are telling you and just do your thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's so
And I think sometimes I think we have been so brainstormed, so conditioned to have a kind of map, a roadmap, to have clear guidelines, instruction, to just listen to our intuition.
Yes, we are so often wanting to copy and paste what other people are doing, right? We're wanting to see, okay, what should I be doing, right? And again, this is something that we're socialized to do. We're basically taught from an early age that like this is how you should look, this is how you should act, this is what you should do with your life, right? We're taught that, and it's hard to get out of that cycle. But the more that we are willing to do that, the more that we are willing to stop copying and pasting what other people are doing and instead figure out our own customized personal situations, the better, right? Like I am all about customizing things, personalizing it, in business and in life, right? Like that is the essence of how I try to live my life. That is the essence, the absolute essence of what I teach. I think it's such an important thing to really customize things, to be willing to just step outside the box if things aren't fitting for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's really I think to create your one structure, I think to listen to yourself first, and from this point to say, okay, I'm going to give a try. I'm going to tell her it's the way I feel is good for me, and that's it.
Yes.
You know, I think this is really one of the points of body positivity as well. It's just to let go of what people are telling you, what society is telling you, and say, you know what? Thank you for the piece of advice, but I'm going to listen to myself.
Yeah. And it's of course it's also like so much easier said than done, right? To like undo our years and years, like our lifetime of conditioning. But yeah, like the more that we are willing to do that and like starting to pay attention to like, okay, wait, am I doing this because I want to do it or because society's told me to do it? Like the more that we are willing to deconstruct that as a practice on an ongoing daily basis, basically for the rest of our lives, the easier it's going to get over time, right? So that's definitely important. Yeah. And I also think, you know, when we, no, go ahead.
No, go for it. I was just listening.
No, I was just going to say, you know, when we're struggling with a particular part of our body, right? Or if we're like struggling with body love and self-care and all of that, I think it's really important to see ourselves on an ongoing basis, to be willing to look at ourselves if we're sort of struggling with it, and to touch ourselves, like not necessarily in a sexual way, although, you know, you do you, but like touching, like just like stroking whatever part of our body we're like having an issue with in that moment, like massaging and like just like petting ourselves, right? I mean, like you see, you know, chimpanzees often like groom each other, and it's, you know, when you're willing to like groom yourself, like play with your hair and like stroke your skin, like a lot of love can come from that if we give those parts of our body love that we are struggling to love. There is power in that, and that can really help us to get in touch, literally and metaphorically, to get in touch with our bodies so that we can start to understand, we can start to differentiate what society is telling us versus what our body is telling us, right? So the more that we're like, okay, like, you know, I'm just gonna like stroke myself for a while, you know, if there's a part of my body that I don't really like or I'm struggling with, like, let me just touch that part and tell it like it's okay that like I'm going to try to love you. I think that there's a lot of power in that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think definitely. I think it reminded me another entrepreneur when she was um saying that take time to love your body, like when you're taking your shower, ready to use your time, ready to massage, to be gentle and really to enjoy basically just taking a shower, because you by doing it you honor, your body, you honor who you are as a woman. But it's interesting because it's linked to what you're saying, where you can start to love your body this way. To get in tune with this part that maybe you have some difficulty with because they're part of yourself. So wow, you have to create this relationship. It's a question of healing as well. A lot of healing.
A lot of what?
Healing.
Healing, yeah, for sure. Sorry, you're you're freezing a little bit right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
a few
important.
minutes ago we can buy.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yes, and I wanted to know because you're a productivity strategist. Do you have anything for our audience right now in terms of products or anything else?
Yeah. So actually, I have two things that I want to sort of share
Okay.
with you all. So the first thing is my signature program, Productivity Powerhouse. It is all about it teaches you how to reframe your mindset, and it's all about how to make room in your life for the things that bring you more joy and make your heart happy. So it's all about you getting out of your own way and
Mhm.
becoming more productive, becoming more energized, becoming more creative, and achieving your personal life goals, all of those types of things. Yeah, so that's really what Productivity Powerhouse is all about. So that's available at saganmorrow.com/powerhouse.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to share about, because we're talking about body positivity and that kind of thing as well, I'm a romance novelist outside of my productivity
Oh,
strategy work. And well, like my romance novels, just like every other part of my business, they're all about, making your own rules and creating a life that you love, regardless of what society tells you to do. But my next book, which hasn't been released yet, I'm going to be publishing it sometime early next year. It's called
okay.
Small Town Stilettos. You can check it out on Goodreads. You can add it to your to read list. But Small Town Stilettos is all about this main character who goes to a small town, and like the romance side of it, because it is a romance novel, the romance side of it is that she's being forced into a marriage of convenience with her childhood sweetheart. But the other component of it that I haven't actually talked about before, this is the first time that people are hearing about the non-romance component of the book. The other part of it is that she's in this small town and she's really frustrated because as a fat woman, she can't find clothes in this tiny town's like really small clothing store. She can't find clothes that fit her and are pretty. So what she does, and she's totally body positive, she loves her body and everything like that. And the entire book there is no fat shaming, there's no fat phobia. It's all purely body positivity. She loves her body, other people love her body. It never becomes an issue in that sort of standpoint. But she's really frustrated because society is not providing her with the clothes that she wants. So she starts a clothing line that is specifically for small towns, featuring clothes that are able to fit all different shapes and sizes, that are pretty, and that can also withstand the weather of living in a small town. And she calls this clothing line Small Town Stilettos. So that is the name of the book.
Oh,
So, yeah, so that's a romance novel that I have coming up, and it's a really fun romance. It's very funny. It's a romantic comedy, and it's also extremely body positive. So, yeah, you can find it on Goodreads. Just search Small Town Stilettos and add it to your to read list.
oh, I love that because I have to tell you that I read the last book of Sagan, and I really, really love it. And I told you I recommend that, but I really, really love it. I find it funny. I bet the main character is really, really fierce, passionate, funny as well. And yes, Sagan is talented. Honestly, she's really talented. So yes, I will definitely put it on my to-do list because I love
Thank you.
life. And I will make sure to put all the details regarding your productivity 4 hours and your future book in the comments below.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sagan, for being with us. It has been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Oh,
This is
no, no, no,
always,
no.
it's always wonderful. I always love chatting with you.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, no, I really love this discussion. I think I do believe that we need to learn more about it, no matter what is happening in the world right now. And yes, gorgeous. If you have any question for us, if you want to if you want to chat with Sagan, she's a queen on Instagram. You can definitely find her. I will put the details in there for you. Sagan, thank you so much again. I wish you all the best and keep in touch as usual. And gorgeous, I will see you with a new episode next week with a new guest. I'm sending you so much love. Ciao.